Good morning and welcome to Unfiltered Vision News, bringing you the news unfiltered Monday through Friday. Thank you so much for joining me here on this Monday recap. And with that, let's get into honoring God with our body. God, please guard our mind and our thoughts. God, help me fix my thoughts on what is true and honorable and right and pure and lovely and admirable. So I will think about things that are excellent and worthy of praise. God, please protect my ears and help me listen to your voice. God, help me to be quick to listen, slow to speak, and slow to become angry. God, please protect my eyes from sin's damage. God, I make a covenant with my eyes not to look lustfully. God, please speak life over my mouth. God, set a guard over my mouth. Lord, keep watch over the doors of my lips. God, please help my hands to serve generously. God, help me to do good to everyone, and especially to those who belong to our family in the faith. And God, please protect our reproductive organs. Help us to honor you, God, with purity. God, help me to honor you with my body. And God, please protect our feet and help us walk along your path. God, let your word be a lamp for my feet and a light on my path. And if this is the first time you're joining us here on the show, we try to say that daily here, just as a reminder of where we need to have our hearts and our minds set as we honor God with our bodies. So again, good morning and welcome to the broadcast. Now, let's get into our trending topics on X. And first, we have the 45,000 that joined Dearborn Aberdeen procession, sparking online divide. Now, all that is said, and you're like, what are they talking about? So let's look into it. So this is what they're talking about. So the annual I'm sorry, I pronounced that. I misspoke on that one. Uh, Arbian or Arabean? Okay, maybe it's Arabean. Okay. Procession in Dearborn, Michigan, drew an estimated 45,000 participants this weekend, marking the 40th day after Imam Hussein's martyrdom, with flags, chants, and closed roads like Greenfield Road. Comedian Rob Snyder called it an insurrection in a video post, while others labeled it a victory parade with Hezbollah symbols and no American flags, questioning loyalty to the U.S. An altercation arose when activist Jake Lang near the route with a bullhorn was punched and chased by the crowd before police intervened for crowd control. So supporters view the 20-year event as peaceful faith expression in the city's large Arab American community, but critics see signs of cultural shifts and assimilation issues. Okay, first of all, you're an American first before you're an Arab. I just want to state that plain and simple. Nothing comes before American. Your ethnicity can come after American because that means you're American first. And I think that's a big, it's going to be a bigger contention as we move forward in years, but you're an American first, then your ethnicity. Okay. You are either here in America to support American values. Now, a lot of people might say this is not necessarily an ethnic issue, more so it might be a spiritual issue, right? If this is something where they are, because it says it's a 20-year event, so this has been going on for a long time, right? In their community, is it a spiritual situation that you're doing? I mean, because as Americans, we're not going over to other people's countries doing marches and peaceful processions. We assimilate to whatever community that we've decided to move into. So if an American decided to move to Britain, they are going to take on Britain. Right? They're not going to be like, well, I'm just an American. I'm living here in Britain. It's like, no, you're going to have to put British values and British first, not American, because you're in another country. This makes sense, right? So these issues are going to continue to be contentious. Now, here's Rob Snyder. Where is the Trump administration? The insurrection is right here. It's not an insurrection. What it is you have an enclave of about, of maybe 100,000 people, roughly, because you got 45,000 people on the street. Let's say 100,000 people for estimate. And they are expressing, which we give people the right to do here, right? Because we got freedom of speech, freedom of, we got all these freedoms, right? And they are expressing whatever they're expressing, right? And it's in their heritage. So they have the right to express it under our Constitution, because our Constitution said you got the freedom to express this. Yeah, but where is there a line? Apparently not. So 45,000 soldiers just took to the streets of Dearborn. This is Amy Meck. Tens of thousands flooded Michigan this weekend in a massive Islamic procession. Black flags, Arabic chants, Hezbollah linked imagery. Now, there used to be a time where this was predominantly a Negro state and city, predominantly, right? In cities like Dearborn. It's no longer. Faces have changed. People have moved because they've just moved. They've moved out. Yeah. We're not that big of the population. And other populations realize it. So it's just something to bring up. But let's just check this out. And I know a lot of people probably wonder, well, how did their population grow so big? But you have things like chain migration. You have things like H-1B visas. You have things just like immigration, period, where people can, apply to be citizens of this country. Now, it's easier to use chain migration because with chain migration, nobody's vetted. They're just allowed to come over here. And there is an unlimited amount of people that they can use in chain migration. It's not just wives or husbands or, stops at mom and dad. And that's it. You can't bring anybody else over. No, they can do about, maybe 10, 20 people deep. And then those people can do the same thing. And then those people can do the same thing. You know what I'm saying? It's just, that's why I said it's an unlimited number. But these are the things that have been allowed. It is what it is. Let's see. RFK challenges CNN's Dana Bash on measles surge and vaccines. Okay, so RFK, you probably don't understand this because you're not a scientist, Dana Bash, or you're not either. Ooh, here we go. Let's get it.
So you are actually looking at, you're starting new studies to try to link autism, but you're also telling me—
I'm not trying to link autism to anything. I'm trying to find out, why is autism gone
Are you
from
also
less
trying
than
to—
one-
Are you also trying to find out how it interacts with people's DNA, what's predisposed to have an autistic child? Are you doing both?
Yeah, but Dana, you probably don't understand this because you're not a scientist, but genes
you're not
don't
either.
cause— Genes don't cause—
I understand. Genes
provide a vulnerability.
A gene provides environmental. That's what I'm asking. Are you studying the environmental
We're looking at all the different environmental exposures, but your statement, you have been fooled. Your statement that this has been studied is not true. It's categorical.
Yeah, and that's what he's getting back to. There's never been a study actually done and published. I should say that. There was a study done. It was never published because if it was published, people would never take vaccines because it actually did link the autism. It did. It has been talked about. It has been discussed. The doctor that did it was like, yeah, we found some things, but we're not going to publish this. So therefore, they can look and say, it's never been studied. But to RFK's point, it has never been studied. No one has ever looked at the actual link. Now, I've seen children in a family where two children got the same types of shots. They became autistic after that shot. The other 5 children didn't. So obviously, they're in the same gene pool, but they have a different brain barrier that protected these 5 over here, but these 2 were not. And that can happen. That is something that can happen. But we're not doing those studies. Why aren't we? But you want us, general public, to just trust you, but you don't want to tell us the truth? Yeah, I'm not about it. Sorry. And the last one, Tellerico nods as woman calls murder conviction a tragedy. So let's check this out. So I don't like the fact that he calls this woman crazy. I think that is really off kilter, Mr. Gill, being that you are a U.S. congressman of the 26th district in Texas. Let's see, your seat is up for re-election. So whoever knows this person, hopefully you're a decent human being, but I don't like you running around calling people crazy. This needs to stop. You don't know who this person is. You just assume that they're crazy because you don't like their statement. And the other part about this is, yeah, you can call anybody crazy you want to because we have freedom of speech. It goes both ways, right? So James Tellerico nods in agreement as a woman tells him Carmelo Anthony's case was a tragedy. It was a tragedy. Somebody lost their life. And this person did claim self-defense. And the self-defense didn't work. Murder has to have intent. But no one can show the intent. And like I said, that case is just very strange to me all around. Now, please explain, James Tellerico, why it was a tragedy for a Black kid to go to jail for murdering a white kid. It's a tragedy because, first of all, it shouldn't have happened at a track meet. Let's just talk about that. Let's just talk about how we can't have track meets anymore because somebody might end up losing their lives. That was the first tragedy. The second tragedy was somebody claimed self-defense, didn't work. That was a tragedy, and a young man lost his life. He's no longer with his parents. This is tragedy all the way around. So let's just see what she had to say.
Our people have getting killed left and right. Carmelo Anthony's case is just a tragedy. Excuse my language. But it is. So what are we going to do to fix those harms? Our people have getting killed left and right. Carmelo Anthony's case.
So I guess he's referring to, she's saying our people are getting killed left and right. Yeah, Black people are getting killed at a high rate. White people are getting killed at a high rate. A lot of people are getting killed at a high rate. A lot of people are being killed at a high rate. Can't turn on the TV without hearing about somebody losing their life or somebody taking somebody else's life. Can't, because life has been devalued. People have been desensitized. There are, unfortunately, young people killing their parents because they're not getting their way. I mean, things are happening that should not be happening in our society right now. But it's happening. And the question is, what are we going to do about it? Right? It is really, really crazy. Okay, and Mr. Black says, no one's prouder of their country than a person who's shot in their country. Very true. Very true. Shout out to our soldiers who sacrificed their lives. But whoa. Yeah. Is it going to come back to bite Tellerico? No. There's a lot of things that are going to come back to bite Tellerico. This is just in the grand scheme of things. Now, let's look at all sides and just some of the topics going on here. So, U.S. and Japan make coordinated yen purchases to bolster currency. Okay. All right. Y'all can do that. Yeah, I'm not even going to touch that. Let's see. Newsom praises minimum wage raise in California. That's great, but it's going to be more automated. You know, they have fully automated McDonald's where there's like maybe 2 or 3 people working on the inside, but you never interact with any human beings from start to finish. Kamala Harris calls for expanding the Supreme Court, revisiting Electoral College. Yeah, so she's trying to ride that fine line with the Democratic Socialist Party that the Democrats have now become. Now, this is the one that stood out to me. Massachusetts expected to allow abortions at any stage. Now, people kept saying, that doesn't exist. What are you talking about? That's fake news. Any stage? Huh. So Massachusetts is set to allow abortion at all stages as the state Senate approved a bill and sent it to Governor Maura Healey on Friday. The bill, which Healey is expected to pass, would remove all state restrictions on abortion and allow it at any stage under the professional judgment of the physician without outside interference. Massachusetts' current legislation restricts abortions after 24 weeks. Gestation, because a fetus can live outside of the womb at 24 weeks. This is probably why they had that number. Expect in cases of fatal diagnoses or to preserve women's physical and or mental health as deemed necessary by a physician. The bill, titled H5595 and dubbed the Prioritizing Patient Access to Care Act by proponents, passed 119-33 in the state's House last week. So the bill ensures Massachusetts patients do not have to leave the Commonwealth to get care at any point, said the bill's primary sponsor, Senator Robin Kennedy. She asserted Massachusetts must continue closing gaps in care so that women have full autonomy over the care they need and when and where they need it. So the good intentions of this bill's sponsors gravely misplaced, said Massachusetts Citizens for Life President Myra Mullany Flynn. As written, their abortion up to birth pill permits one physician to subjectively decide that any unborn infant can be killed in or outside of a hospital, even babies capable of surviving outside the womb and feeling pain within it. She asserted women experience unmitigable, heart-wrenching pregnancy complications, absolutely deserve all the support they need, but that support is not without this bill, is what this bill provides. Instead, the bill ensures increased abortion industry profits and taxpayer-funded late-term procedures. And it's interesting because see, we're still they touched on it briefly, but they still haven't talked about how with these abortions in the states that are still okay with abortions, what's happening with the body parts? Are the body parts still on order on the black market where they're still getting the hearts and the lungs and the different parts of the fetuses once they're aborted at a certain time? Or we're not going to talk about that anymore? Okay. Because see, that's still happening outside of this happening. This I understand because it was weird. It was like when they basically made a decision on Roe v. Wade, because Roe v. Wade was never a decided case. It was actually a presumed case in the Supreme Court, and they had dissenting opinions on it, which people wrote policies on it that were not laws, which is crazy. They decided, oh, so anything dealing with pregnancy with women, we can't touch it in a hospital. They became idiots. So in ectopic pregnancy, which is it happens, they're like, well, we can't do anything because if we, go in to save the life of the mother, we could, in fact, be having an abortion if we remove this fetus off of this woman's body because it's outside of the womb and it's an ectopic pregnancy. It's actually on the fallopian tube. But yeah, we can't do anything because that would be considered abortion. Really? You became idiots after Roe v. Wade? I need people to have a little bit more common sense. Now, a lot of people no, really common sense. No, it's not, because what it does is going to open the floodgates for people to actually have open abortions up to 9 months. And let's just say, for argument, that there is something that happens with the fetus, and there needs to be, and they need to do it in early pregnancy, right? Premature pregnancy. That's something they can already do. Like, what are we talking about? But again, people became stupid after Roe v. Wade. So now they're trying to put in all these abortion laws. But are you going to be abusing abortions? And my question is, okay, if you're going to be doing that, what's happening with the body parts? Is the whole black market going to be opened again in your state, Massachusetts? Is anybody manning the store? Just saying. I'm just saying. Nobody talks about that stuff. All right, so now let's get into what's been going on with Mamdani in New York.
Be talking about this when hundreds of city homeowners being put on notice. They're getting warnings that they could be on the hook for that new pied-à-terre tax. And some on the list say, which Mayor Mamdani insists is aimed at wealthy out-of-towners, it just isn't meant for them. News 4 Government Affairs reporter Melissa Russo live in the newsroom with some details. Melissa.
Natalie, it's a tax that only targets out-of-town owners of second homes here worth more than $5 million. But the city released a list last week of almost 1 million property owners, causing confusion because most of the people on that list, many of them at least, say the tax doesn't apply to them. The Mamdani administration today admitting they may have relied on some out-of-date information, causing some confusion.
The tax property roll that was posted last week is a reflection of all properties across New York City, not a reflection of those specifically that the pied-à-terre tax will be levied upon.
Mayor Zohran Mamdani today denying he improperly singled out any wealthy homeowners when the city published a spreadsheet on the people and properties that could face the new pied-à-terre tax.
Well, today, we're taxing the rich.
Unlike this controversial video in which the mayor singled out billionaire Ken Griffin and his $237 million penthouse, this time the city did not point to any particular taxpayers in the social media posts, but in the spreadsheet released, it's not hard to find celebrities like Anna Wintour, Woody Allen, and Cynthia Nixon.
The overwhelming majority of people who were put on that list aren't billionaires. They're people that worked hard, that believe in New York, and maybe potentially bought a second home or apartment that happened to be in New York City because they love New York City. And so putting those people's safety at risk by putting out their addresses and highlighting the fact that they may not be in those residences all the time is just not appropriate.
Mayor Mamdani insists this data has always been published, and he says he's giving property owners time to challenge being taxed if they don't believe the tax applies to them.
Just like localities from Nassau to Albany, we publish property tax rolls in accordance with the law, as the city has done twice a year for years, frankly, if not decades and centuries.
People are feeling anxious, angry, confused.
Upper West Side Councilmember Gail Brewer fielding calls from constituents who say they've received one of the 17,000 letters the city sent out to New Yorkers who could be subject to the new pied-à-terre tax, but say they shouldn't be because they live here in the city full time.
Get the letter and you're told $43,000 is what you could owe if you are not full-time in your home. You have to hire a lawyer.
A little bit of a new territory for us. Use existing information that we have, and it could have been that we don't have updated information.
No, we are committed to ensuring that this is a tax only levied upon those whose second homes are worth more than $5 million.
Mayor Mamdani says that they have until next March to sort out all the kinks in this new tax, which will take effect for the first time.
Okay. Really, bro? Nobody decided to vet the list. You just put it out there. And then you turn around and say, well, it doesn't apply to everybody. It just applies to those who have a second home that's worth over $5 million. Stop it. We get it. You want people that have worked hard to pay more. Plain and simple, short, sweet. Okay? That's what you want. But apparently you're not a part of that, right? Okay. So I asked, recently the mayor, he published a list of properties that also referenced taxpayers. Could this be considered doxing? Because that's the first thing I think of. Like, why are you posting people's addresses and kind of putting their business on the street? You can send a letter. Like, it's one thing to do a press conference and say, hey, these people are going to be getting a letter because they're going to be getting taxed, blah, blah, blah. I get it. Now, this is public information. It is, but you actually have to go and get it. But if I publish something like that, it would be considered doxing. If you did that, it would be considered doxing. He's doing this. It says, yes, it can be reasonably considered a form of doxing. What? Under common definitions, though it involves public records rather than privately obtained data, and it is not clearly illegal. That's the blurred line here. Oh my goodness. And it's a downloadable file, right? It contained roughly 960,000 entries listing property details along with owners' names and addresses, right? So doxing is the public release of identifying personal information, name, home, address, phone, etc., without consent, typically in a way that facilitates contact, location, harassment, shaming, or harm. Okay. So these property assessments, they are public records, but people would actually go to get them, right? So legally, so a legal and practical reality, there is no comprehensive federal criminal statute that simply bans doxing. It's not banned, but some states have specific laws and related offenses like stalking can apply depending on context and intent. But I will say, what if somebody is harmed, right? Because their information is out there. Yes, in limited circumstances, a harmed individual could seek legal recourse, but success against the city of New York or its departments of finance would be highly difficult, while claims against private third parties who misuse the information are more viable, which that's interesting to me. I was like, the city's not, but yeah, it's really weird. So I will definitely link this for you guys so you can check out more on that. And then the next thing I wanted to get to before we end the broadcast is Chicago Public Schools.
Chicago Public Schools is planning to cut teaching jobs and increase class sizes for the upcoming school year.
Christine's in the newsroom with a look at the possible impact of the cuts. Christine?
Larry and Robin, good morning. The announcement comes as they close out this school year, citing a deficit of $732 million. The teachers union has responded, blaming state lawmakers for not prioritizing public school funding. With just weeks left of classes, Chicago Public Schools is already preparing for a difficult upcoming school year. In a letter sent to families and staff Monday, CPS leaders outlined what they describe as a major budget deficit caused by declining enrollment, rising operational costs, and inadequate state and federal funding. Meanwhile, the Chicago Teachers Union is blaming state lawmakers for what they say is failing to fully fund schools, adding that the school district is only funded at 73% of what the state considers adequate. While the district didn't say which positions are at risk, the union said the financial shortfall could impact counselors, bilingual coordinators, interventionists, and academic coaches. According to the Tribune, district leaders say losses will be capped at 4 teachers per elementary school and 6 per high school. More than 120 assistant principals could also be cut. Significant cuts are also expected at the central office and administrative departments. Much of the blame goes to losing nearly $3 billion in federal pandemic relief money. Mayor Brandon Johnson weighed in on the matter.
I did release a record number, last year in TIF surplus. No other administration has made those type of investments. And in order for us to repair the structural damage, the state of Illinois has to contribute more. And I believe there's no disagreement around that.
Now, we should note this is just the beginning of the budget process. Principals now have until June 9th to complete their individual school budgets. The school board has until August 29th to approve a balanced budget. Live in the newsroom, Christine Flores, WGN News.
Okay, now this broadcast for that news, it was about 2 months ago. So I wanted to get a little bit of an update on it. So right now, it says Chicago Public Schools is not facing a mass district-wide school closing, because I was wondering about the school closings due to its budget deficit. But the district recently passed a contentious $10 billion budget that relies on unconfirmed state funds. Okay. So they're saying, here's the budget, but we really don't have the funds yet, right? Leaving short-term payroll and school financing at risk. So separate from the main district, 2 Aspira charter schools in Chicago were slated for mid-year closures due to a localized $2.9 million deficit and financial transparency issues. This whole thing, people are like, no, I know you want the information. I'm not going to give it to you, but I still want your money. It's getting old. It's really sad. So the Chicago Board of Education approved a nearly $10 billion budget to close massive deficit, narrowly reversing over 1,000 planned staffed layoffs, right? Uncertain funding risk. The approved budget depends on an extra $150 million in state funding from Illinois that has not yet been formally approved. Payroll warning. So CPS leadership warned that this funding gap threatens short-term borrowing, right? Tax anticipation notes, meaning timely payroll for early September cannot be fully guaranteed. Like they are in, it's just bad. It's bad finances. You know, they were talking about the $3 billion in pandemic spending. Yeah, a lot of people were relying on that money continuing to come, and it didn't. They had an influx of individuals that were not supposed to be here that they spent money on. They did a lot of things financially that just were not fiscally responsible. In short, like that's what happened in Chicago. So definitely keep Chicago in your prayers. And also something else that they said in that news broadcast was that enrollment was down. So your enrollment's down, but you need more money. Like I need that to make sense. Because if you have fewer students, but you need more money, yeah, something's not working out. Somebody's really not looking at the books properly. But again, like I said, please keep Chicago schools in your prayers, because the children shouldn't suffer because the adults aren't doing their job at the end of the day. But that will end our broadcast for today. Tomorrow we will be back with Tell It All Tuesday. So remember, stay well, stay focused, and stay unfiltered. We'll see you in the next one.